Good evening and welcome to Guyana TV9 News, broadcasting live on television and streaming across all our social media platforms. I am Daniela Arajo with your top stories for Wednesday, July 22nd. In the headlines tonight, 57 bodies recovered as MV Bereimma tragedy deepens. International fleet joined to hunt for answers. Massive $3 billion housing boost set to transform Amerindian villages across Guyana. Minister INDAR unveils a $17.6 billion utility and aviation boost for Amerindian communities. And government to launch COI into MV Bereimma tragedy over manifest mismatch. And now for your news in depth. The heartbreak is deepening on the Essequibo coast. The government has confirmed that 57 bodies have now been recovered from the MV Bereimma maritime disaster, as 4 more victims were pulled from the Atlantic water on Wednesday afternoon. An agonizing wait continues for families gathered at the charity's selling. Here is more in this report. The shores of Charity have turned into a landscape of quiet desperation. For 4 days, families have stared out at the water, hoping for any piece of news. Lloyd Smith sits among them. His 2 brothers, Neil Court and Kenrick Court, were on board the state-operated ferry when it capsized last Saturday night. He describes the excruciating torture of waiting.
When last I saw my brother Saturday morning, but then he didn't go out yet, which he all and then I didn't really see what close he left. Rather went up. But otherwise, from then I see no, I didn't see the other one. The other one living with his wife, Neil Court, and Kenny Court lived with me. And that was it. I went there and checked for him, and I see him. You know, it was awkward to not see him. I can't take it no more. Strong, I gotta keep on quiet.
Right now I'm here in Charity, concerning with this incident on MV Bereimma, where my son Ralph is working on. And at this moment I'm here from since Monday morning already. I leave my home 3 o'clock, come down at this end day. And for searching for my child, but so far, with all the bodies that comes up, that they bring in, the rescue team, I recognize my son as yet. But I know to myself that my son is not there. My son is alive. Because there's the kind of inspiration I get in all the time that my son is alive. And I trust in God that I find my son and find him alive.
Here since Monday morning, I'm waiting to see Antoine Akut. My name is Wadley Akut, his father. And until now, no report, no scene until now. But I'm still here waiting.
He's the one I'm here to identify. He works at transport as a crew member. He wasn't a passenger, he was a crew member on the ship. We are very concerned about at least finding our brother. Some feedbacks, we had some bodies come in, we checked the bodies, but it was none was identified as him. Until now, we're here since yesterday. Until now, we didn't get any body and we're still waiting.
Back on land, the painful task of identification is underway. Of the 57 bodies retrieved, 44 victims have been identified by their families. So far, the Ministry of Health has released 18 bodies to their loved ones for final burial rites. While the search continues, Guyana is preparing for 3 days of national mourning, honoring the lives swallowed by the nation's worst maritime tragedy in modern memory. The government said the search, rescue, and recovery efforts remain active as authorities continue working to account for everyone who was aboard the MV Bereimma. Regional authorities and the Ministry of Health are continuing to support bereaved families through the identification process and the release of victims to their loved ones. Technical teams are also carrying out detailed assessments of the capsized vessel to determine the safest and most effective way to right the MV Bereimma. Authorities said this step would improve access for divers working at the wreck site as recovery efforts continue. The expanded operation now involves 19 vessels and 2 aircraft supported by local agencies and international partners. Assets from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and Brazilian Navy have arrived in Guyana's waters and are en route to join the ongoing search, rescue, and recovery mission. The multi-agency response remains on the way as teams continue their efforts to recover victims. Daniela Roger, Guyana TV9 News. International divers launched a highly technical buoyancy operation Wednesday morning to enter the sunken MV Bereimma, racing against time to recover victims believed to be trapped inside the wreckage. Here's more in this report.
Relatives gathered for prayers before receiving updates from His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfanali, who explained that the day's operation would be led by the Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard with support from teams from France, Trinidad and Tobago, the private sector and other regional partners. Divers who assessed the wreck a day earlier determined its position on the seabed, allowing crews to begin efforts to reposition the vessel into more shallow waters before attempting entry. Officials said they hope to provide families with an update on the operation's progress as the day unfolded.
A special team has been mobilized to try as hard as possible today to recover as much as possible. So today is going to be a very complex operation led by the Coast Guard and specialized groups, which include the French team, a team from Trinidad. It will include a number of specialized boats and specialized pieces of equipment, specialized tugs, some of which are already mobilized there. And what the focus will be on this morning and today is to try to get inside of the wreckage.
Authorities also expanded the wider search effort, deploying additional Guyana Defense Force ground patrols along Shell Beach and surrounding coastline, while helicopters and other technology continued aerial searches. Officials acknowledged they were racing against time and assured families that every available resource was being used to maximize the chances of recovering victims and, if possible, finding additional survivors. During a Tuesday evening briefing, the head of state praised the hundreds of emergency responders and volunteers who have worked around the clock since the disaster. Assistant Superintendent Garfield Campbell, officer in charge of the Guyana Police Force's Marine Unit, said police marine ranks from Georgetown and Charity were mobilized immediately after the distress call and have been operating continuously under difficult sea conditions alongside the Coast Guard, private vessels and civilian volunteers.
We're sitting here with all of the relatives for the last 2 days. It's a very difficult time for relatives, the survivors, the family members of persons affected by this tragedy. But we have had some extraordinary men and women from the regions, cabinet, civil society, the fishermen, fisherfolk, Ministry of Health, our men and women in uniform.
Officials said the recovery effort will continue as divers prepare a flotation operation aimed at lifting or repositioning the vessel. Families were informed that recovery teams would remain on station with photographs of any recovered victims immediately uploaded to assist with identification. Authorities also confirmed that post-mortem examinations and the release of identified bodies to relatives would continue as quickly as possible, while logistical support remains in place for affected families across regions 1, 2, and 3.
Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips announced Wednesday morning that the government will establish an independent commission of inquiry into the MV Bereimma disaster, confirming that officials have already detected critical discrepancies between the ferry's official passenger manifest and the actual number of people on board. More news after the break. Do stay with us.
Providing the latest updates, the Prime Minister said the government has already confirmed discrepancies between the ferry's passenger manifest and the number of people who are actually on board. However, he stressed that determining responsibility for any further breaches, including whether established procedures were violated, will be responsibility of the Commission of Inquiry.
But I must admit that the focus right now is on, as I mentioned, over and over, the search and rescue, search and recovery, and bringing closure, working with families, because this is a difficult time for all of us in Guyana, and of course, the next step is having that commission of inquiry established as early as possible. I will not give you a timeline, but it is certain that is a priority action that the government is looking at right now to have that commission of inquiry established as early as possible.
Prime Minister Phillips said the Commission of Inquiry will be established as early as possible and will independently examine all aspects of the tragedy. He said its findings will guide disciplinary action where necessary and produce recommendations aimed at strengthening safety regulations, improving ferry operations, and preventing similar tragedies in the future. The Prime Minister assured the public that those found responsible based on the Commission's findings will be held accountable, while emphasizing that the government's immediate priority remains recovering the remaining victims, supporting affected families, and bringing closure to one of Ghana's deadliest maritime disasters. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also outlined the scale of the emergency response mounted following the initial distress call. He said the Maritime Search and Rescue Coordination Center activated a multi-agency operating involving the Guyana Defense Force, Coast Guard, police, private sector vessels, aircraft, and local fishermen. He noted that the divers from the French Armed Forces are already assisting in the operation, and just this morning the Trinidad and Tobago and Brazil arrived to also assist with the finding of the rest of the bodies.
From Georgetown, from Region 2, even civilians, private people who received the message also join in moving to the area where the vessel was deemed to would have capsized, and they started this massive search effort. We had the private sector, one of the companies provided an aircraft to fly over the area. Somebody fired a flare, and that gave us a good fix, and that was very helpful. The GDF helicopter was deployed, fly over the area, and all those actions were very helpful with the people in the water who assisted in rescuing. And many of those people were rescued by private sector agencies, private agencies, fishermen, and
Adana Doric, Ghana TV9 News.
More news after the break. Do stay with us.
GECOM is conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing July 1, 2026 to produce an official list of electors, OLE. If you were 18 years or older on June 30, 2026 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GECOM has posted the preliminary list of electors, PLE, in all registration divisions across Guyana for you to check whether you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can object to anyone whom you believe does not qualify for inclusion in the OLE. To do so, you must be listed in the same divisional list as the person you are objecting to. You must visit the GECOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to make an objection. The objections aspect of this exercise will end on Friday, July 17, 2026. For more information, contact the GECOM on 225-0278-9 or visit www.gecom.org.gy.
I know you have work to do, but come, I just need a minute of your time. It won't even take that long. So, I have a proposal. We could do besties in Punta Cana. Really need a getaway. And not to worry, I went to Sunita Travel Agency and they recommended a few hotels that do all-inclusive stays. And they're very affordable. The vibes. Let me tell you something. We do not want to miss a trip to Punta Cana. Why? Ziplining. No, I know this is not your vibe, but please, listen. Hold on. Wait. I know you like Thread Back. There's a boat party. We could go there. And then there's this thing called Buggy Adventure. Some buggy something. I don't know, but I want to be a buggy or whatever it is. I just want to be a part of it. And then we got snorkeling. Oh, this thing is so ugly. Please, you be next to uglier things than this. Stop it. Trust me, you're going to love it. It'll be just you and me, Punta Cana, drinks, just having the time of our life. Not to worry. We've got many flight options, and they made sure that they went through it with me. The prices are affordable. Trust me. I know you like thinking about the budget or whatever. Remember the time when we went and we missed the flight? Yeah, when we booked with Sunita Travel Agency. Even if it happens, with slim chance, they'll know what to do and we won't be stranded like we did the last time. This solid plan. You, me, Punta Cana. Cheap. It won't even hurt your pocket. Please say yes. Yes.
Welcome back. You're watching Guyana TV9 News Bulletin. Minister of Public Utilities and Aviation, INDAR, has pledged a historic multi-billion-dollar infrastructure facelift to guarantee 100% utility access across Guyana's hinterland and riverine communities. Speaking at the National Tushals Conference, INDAR revealed the administration has already pumped $17.6 billion into rural public utilities over the past 5 years, setting the stage for an aggressive new wave of water, power, and aviation projects targeting regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. Our reporter has the details.
Addressing Tushals during the National Tushals Conference, Minister Indar said the government has already invested approximately $17.6 billion over the past 5 years in essential public utilities, while outlining dozens of new projects planned for regions 1, 7, 8, 9, and riverine communities.
In the water sector, we've spent about $8 billion so far in the last 5 years. In electricity, we've spent about $4.3 billion in the last 5 years, from 2020 to 2025. And on airstrips, we've spent about $5.3 billion. We'll go through those individual projects later, but those are the summary numbers. It does not include 2026. So we'll go through 1, 7, 8, 9, and regions 2, 6, and 10, which have some riverine communities.
Minister Indar assured AMERINDIAN leaders that no community had been overlooked, stressing that every region has projects either underway or in the pipeline. In Region 1 alone, the government is expanding electricity generation with new generators to BARIMA and Matthews Ridge, while dozens of water projects are planned for communities including Santa Rosa, Warapoka, Warner, and Whitewater. He acknowledged the long-standing challenge of providing potable water to villages affected by saltwater intrusion, saying desalination remains costly, but solutions are actively being pursued. The minister said Region 7 is steadily moving forward towards universal access to clean water, with battery storage systems being introduced to improve water supply reliabilities in communities such as Waramadong, Kaikan, and Kato, while new electrification and solar projects are advancing in places including Itabali and Tipuru. Similar progress is unfolding in Region 8, where Madia's water network is being expanded. Gravity-fed water systems are being installed across the North Bereimma, and improvements are planned to address wells with high iron content. Hydropower generated at Kato, he added, will continue to be expanded to power more homes and public buildings. Region 9, meanwhile, remains a major focus of government investment, with treated water already reaching most of Latham and new systems commissioned in remote communities, including Karasabai, Aishalton, Yurung Paru, and surrounding villages.
What we are trying to do here at the GWI is to make sure we have 100% access across all the communities in the hinterland and the riverine community. Our aim is to get that done by the end of this year, maybe mid next year, right? Latest mid next year, 100% throughout all the communities.
The minister also acknowledged persistent challenges facing remote villages, including damaged pipelines caused by heavy vehicles, wildlife, and difficult terrain, promising greater collaboration with village leaders to stock essential repair materials closer to communities so water systems can be restored more quickly after breakdowns. He noted incomplete water projects in communities such as Mabura have now been reassigned to new contractors to ensure residents finally receive reliable service.
Thousands of Amerindian families are set to benefit from a major housing upgrade following the government's announcement of a $3 billion Hinterland investment. Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo unveiled the massive funding package at the National Tushaus Conference, confirming that the money will roll out this year to build new homes and repair existing structures across the interior.
The announcement was made on Tuesday by Vice President Dr. Bharat Jagdeo during an engagement with indigenous leaders attending the National Tushaus Council Conference at the Arthur Chong Conference Center. Addressing village representatives from across the country, the Vice President outlined the government's plan to strengthen housing opportunities for Amerindian families. Dr. Jagdeo explained that the housing program will be carried out through a partnership involving the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and individual village councils. He said this collaborative approach is intended to ensure that local communities play an active role in deciding how the resources are used. To promote fairness and transparency, oversight committees will also be established to monitor the program's implementation. According to the Vice President, these bodies will help prevent concerns about favoritism, bias, or the unfair distribution of assistance among eligible families. The government is still finalizing how the money will be shared between villages, but Dr. Jagdeo indicated that population size will be one of the key factors considered. Additional discussions with village leaders are expected before the final framework for distributing the funds is approved. The $3 billion initiative forms part of the government's wider efforts to improve housing and community development in Guyana's hinterland regions. Officials believe the investment will provide meaningful support to Amerindian families while helping to improve living standards in villages across the country. Adana Darek, Guyana, TV9 News.
More news after the break. Do stay with us.
Want to place your death announcements and in memoriam messages on Channel 9? Call 592-761-5006, 710-5008, 600-5006. Or visit our office at Lot 85A Lamaha Street, Albertown, Georgetown, Century 21 Building.
Guyana, Channel 9 is now Guy TV9, proudly under new management. We're building stronger with a balanced and open platform for all advertisers. Whether you're promoting a business, service, or event, your message belongs right here. So choose your spot, news, primetime, or anytime, and reach viewers across Guyana. With affordable rates and professional service, Guy TV9 is your partner in progress. So visit us at Lot 21A, Lamaha Street, Georgetown, in the Century 21 building, or call 600-5006 or 761-5006. Guyana TV9. New leadership, fresh outlook, real results.
Welcome back. And now for your Caribbean news. We lead today with a massive coordinated maritime mobilization in the southern Caribbean in response to the MV Bereimma tragedy, now being monitored closely by CARICOM as one of the darkest mother and maritime disasters in the region. Neighboring nations have stepped in to spearhead a high-stakes salvage operation. Highly specialized tactical teams from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and the Brazilian Navy have arrived at the wreckage site. Alongside French naval divers, These regional teams are executing a complex flotation operation. Crews are working around the clock to right the capsized hull and shift it into shallower waters to allow search teams to safely access trapped compartments. Turning to Jamaica, a major labor and public health standoff has erupted in Kingston. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association has issued an urgent public ultimatum to the government. The association is demanding a formal retraction and apology from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton over controversial comments regarding recent protests staged by medical interns. Healthcare unions warn that the friction threatens severely disrupt public hospital operations at a time when the healthcare system is already under immense administrative strain. Finally, severe environmental hazards are triggering synchronized alerts across the Lesser Antilles today. Meteorological offices in Trinidad, Tobago, and Jamaica have issued urgent public health warnings as a dense wall of Saharan dust sweeps across the archipelago. Health officials are urging citizens with respiratory conditions to remain indoors as air quality reaches critically low levels, making matters worse. The dust storm coincides with active regional spring tides, prompting severe marine alerts for fishermen due to heavily agitated, choppy sea conditions across the southern Caribbean network. Turning now to international news. We lead in France, where Paris prosecutors have launched an immediate investigation following the discovery of Daniel Siad's body. The 69-year-old model and scout who was found dead outside Paris had deep ties to late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and was facing multiple international human trafficking accusations. Meanwhile, widespread public debate is sweeping Europe after French lawmakers officially passed a sweeping blanket ban. The historic legislation completely prohibits social media access for children under the age of 15 and institutes a total ban on mobile phones inside school classrooms starting this September. And finally, on a lighter note, Spanish World Cup heroes Fabian Ruiz and Gavi were awarded their exact body weight in fresh tomatoes during a homecoming ceremony yesterday. The event took place in their agricultural hometown of Los Palacios y Villafranca, where Ruiz weighed in at 84 kilograms and Gavi at 68 kilograms. Together, they took home 152 kilograms of premium local produce balanced against them on an industrial scale. This unique tradition started in 2010 for local legend Jesus Navas and is repeated whenever a hometown player wins a major trophy. Alongside the harvest, the town is renaming 2 stadiums after the midfield stars. And those were the stories making the news tonight. Keep the conversation going online. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at GUI TV9. I am Daniela Arajo. Thank you for tuning in. Do have a safe evening and bye for now.